Thank you for allowing me to guide you through your practice today. Today's focus, I would like to work on our drishti. Our drishti is described as your gaze, perspective, or attitude. And it's what you're looking at. Is the glass half full or half empty? I know my own mood has been very reflective of how many headlines I've read that day, and or not. I'd like to, for our focus for our poses today, I'd like to work on inversions. I know probably like many of you, you're out of your normal routine, and my shoulders are almost aching from not being in the pool. And so inversions and arm balancing definitely requires some shoulder strengthening as well as core strengthening. And it does also work on the drishti, where you're looking, where your head is and where your eyes are is hugely helpful in maintaining balance. There are a lot of benefits to balancing on your hands and going upside down. Improves circulation. Gravity provides the brain with oxygen and blood, so it improves your mental function, concentration, memory, and processing abilities. Great for your immune system and to help prevent illness by activating the lymphatic system. Inversions can be really energizing because it's bringing more blood to your brain, but as well they can also be relaxing. Certain more cooling inversions like shoulder stand or legs up the wall can really help to calm the nervous system down by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, resulting in feelings of balance and calm. Great core strengthening work. Inversions and arm balancing can be really humble because they're challenging, and yet when you've tried something that might feel intimidating or a little bit scary, it can definitely build confidence. The drishti, where you're looking, can definitely help to maintain some balance when you're upside down, but also you're upside down, and so you might be looking at things from a different vantage point, and sometimes just considering a different angle for a situation can help your attitude. And then finally, inversions are really fun and make you feel maybe a little bit more playful or lighthearted. There are a couple of contraindications, reasons to not invert: unmedicated high blood pressure, certain heart conditions, certain poses like headstand, and if you don't, maintain the balance in your forearms, that can be not great if you've had neck injury, recent strokes, detached retina in your eye, glaucoma, or epilepsy. So if any of those apply to you, please skip this practice. We'll get started. Today's breathing or pranayama, breath control, I would like to work to bring more energy into our body. And so we will focus on a short, sharp exhale. And the inhale is really passive, so I'll demonstrate. We'll go through 3 rounds, and in between we'll hold our breath. So as you're ready, take a full inhale. Big exhale to release. Inhale about halfway, prepare. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Inhale. Bring the chin towards the chest. Hold the breath. Employ the bandhas, pelvic floor lifting up, ribs pulling in, throat back, gazes at the third eye. Big exhale to release. Inhale fully. And exhale, releasing. Again, inhale. Big exhale. Second round, inhale about halfway. Begin when you're ready. Exhale, 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 inhale. Hold the breath, bring the chin towards the chest, pelvic floor up, ribs in, throat back, gaze at third eye. Big exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Third and final round, inhale, prepare. Exhale, 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 inhale. Chin towards chest, pelvic floor up, ribs in, throat back, gaze at third eye. Big exhale, releasing. Inhale and exhale. Maybe observe any effects. And then as you're ready, bring your hands palm to palm in front of the heart. Take an in breath. Prepare for the first of 3 ohms. Receive your vibration. Release it on the exhale as you're ready. Please thank yourself for your practice, your effort and attitude to self-care. Release the hands towards thighs, chin towards chest. Blink the eyes open, and then lift the chin of the eyes. Okay, I'm going to close the door to my laundry room, and then meet me on your mat, hands and knees. For props today, I have 2 blocks, and I also have a strap, and I have a blanket. So if you don't have those, you can substitute the blocks for either books, even just a throw pillow, jokingly toilet paper, or a roll of paper towels. The strap can be substituted for a belt. And if you don't have a blanket, then even a towel. So onto your mat, hands and knees. Begin your practice with the wide spread palm, cat-cow. Inhale, lift the chin and the sits bones. And exhale, tuck tailbone under, pressing the floor away, pull the ribs up and in as you round. Inhale, lift, and exhale, round. Moving with your breath. And then down dog. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips up, add any pleasurable movement. Down dog is one of our first inversions. And oftentimes inversions and our imbalances are thought to be a more advanced practice. But truly a more advanced practice is to make the modifications and honor your body and where you're at today. Inhale, come forward towards plank. If you need to wiggle the feet out a little bit until wrist, elbow, and shoulder are stacked, press down into the hands, chin slightly towards chest. So you find length on the back of the neck, crown of the head forward, and find as much length as you can from the heels through the crown. Keep clawing the finger pads into the mat so you take a little bit of weight out of the wrist. And as you look at the hands, make sure that you have a wide spread palm, but then equal spacing. So oftentimes most of us have to pull the thumb in a little bit. And I prefer the second finger to 12 o'clock, but you can play with either second or third finger to 12 o'clock. Inhale, rock forward onto the tiptoes, shoulders past wrists. Modify your chaturanga as needed, and we'll meet on the belly. Once you get down, point the toes back and curl up into your first cobra pose, high or low. Keeping the elbows bent, oftentimes allow the shoulders to roll back. If the arms are straight, then what happens is the shoulders kind of want to hunch forward. So finding expansion along the clavicle bones. As you curl up, keep all 10 toes rooting into the sticky mat, especially the pinky toe. It'll create more space along the lower back. And the throat is back like you had that hood of a cobra, but then it might feel pleasurable to rock side to side, or maybe you're curling up and exhale, lowering down. And then hands and knees, child's pose. Child's pose is also an inversion, or any pose in which the heart is above the head. Reconnect to your breath here. Try to get long from fingertips as you claw in, pulling the pelvic floor up and the ribs in, and pressing the tailbone back. And then hands and knees, down dog. We'll get a side body stretch. Inhale, lift up onto the balls of both feet and flip both heels right. Keep both hands rooting down, and then take the left foot behind the right. Keep squeezing the legs towards each other and pressing the hands forward. Keep taking the outer armpits and rolling them back towards the legs, and the shoulders can just slightly move forward. Creates kind of a hollowed out armpit. Unwind the feet. Lift up onto the balls of both feet and flip both heels left. If you can lift and spread the toes here, it'll recreate the arch in the foot. Just great to help build strength in the feet. And then right foot behind the left. Keep pressing the hands forward, trying to root into the knuckle of the thumb and the first finger in the inside of the wrist. As you roll the outer armpits back, it'll stabilize the shoulder blades and move them down your back. And then unwind the feet. Inhale, forward plank pose. Same legs, flip both heels right. It's kind of setting us up for an arm balance called side plank or Vashisthasana. And then the heels flip center and then they flip left. Keep tugging the heels of the hands back towards the toes, though the hands never move. And then unwind the feet, bring the hips high, big exhale, down dog. Inhale forward towards plank pose again. This time we'll come into side plank, so walk the right hand about one handprint forward. Flip both heels to the right. And then your modifications or variations might bring left hand to left hip. Left hand might lift straight up, or left foot might come forward, but try to keep the hips high. Maybe the left leg lifts, or even comes back behind you, so play with your variations, and avoid the hyperextension tendency in the right elbow. Left hand down, big exhale, down dog. And then inhale, forward plank pose. Second side, left hand about one handprint forward, flip both heels left. And again, feet can be stacked or staggered. Right hand might find the hip or straight up. And imagine you're giving me like an air high five, pressing into my hand to help pull your ribs in and bring your throat back. Play with your leg variation if you got creative. On the second side, and then hand and gaze down, hips high, big exhale, down dog. Inhale, forward plank pose. Rock forward onto the tiptoes. Meet on the belly, either by dropping the knees and or bending the elbows straight back. Lower the thighs and the hips down, and then curl up into cobra, high or low. Really work on rolling the shoulders back. It's much more important than straight arms. In fact, bent elbows will give you more expansion along your clavicle. If you want to come up a little bit higher, you might kind of wiggle the hips towards the hands. And then child's pose, either knees wide and hands forward, or you can bring knees together and the hands palm facing up by the hips. Reconnect to your breath. And then hands and knees. And turn to face the camera. This is a twist with shoulder opening emphasis. So left hand stays anchored and the right hand lifts up towards the ceiling. Then on the exhale, the right hand threads underneath the left armpit. Walk the left hand forward as you come to rest on the right shoulder and the right temple. So the nose is just slightly angled down. Walk the left fingertips as far forward as you can, and either keeping the hips high above the knees or sitting the hips back will change where the weight is on your shoulder. So kind of find the spot that is where you need it. Keep rolling the outer left armpit down, but kind of lifting up through the left bicep. And then if you want one option more, take the left foot out to the left with the left big toe pointing straight ahead to 12 o'clock. And then pressing the left foot with strength down, lift and spread the left toes and squeeze the left foot, inner edge of the foot towards the right knee. So it activates the left adductor or inner thigh. And then when you're ready to unwind from it, walk the left hand back. Bring the left knee underneath you. And go slow to unwind back to hands and knees. Preparing for the second side, the right hand is the anchor and the left hand lifts up towards the ceiling. And then left hand threads underneath the right armpit, come to rest on the left shoulder and the left temple. Walk the right hand forward. And again, either keeping the hips high above the knees or sitting the hips back towards the heels will change where the weight is on the left shoulder. So you're using the weight of your body to help hydrate the casing or the fascia, the connective tissue. Keep rolling the right outer armpit down and kind of lifting up through the right bicep. And then if you played with bringing the right leg out to the right, I usually have to bring my hand back first, then bring the right foot out to the right with the right big toe straight ahead, and then I can find extension with the right hand again. Try to roll the outer edge of the right foot, the pinky edge of the foot down, but then squeeze the foot back towards the left knee, just to activate the muscles in the right leg. And then when you're ready to unwind, hand back, knee back underneath you, hands and knees. Allow yourself any pleasure mode movement if it circles with the hips or around an arch, or get the chin moving shoulder to shoulder. We'll add a couple of wrist stretches next since we'll be bearing some more weight on our hands. So take the hands and turn the fingertips out wide, and then working the fingertips to point back towards the knees. Here, keep the elbows bent a little bit. So again, to avoid hyperextension, fingers spread wide, and then start to sit the hips back towards the heels, but trying to keep the palm rooted. And you might kind of rock back and forth to go for the deep stretch and then back off of it. Really follow the breath and your control over a smooth and even inhale and exhale. But if you lose that, then back off on the posture, return to the breath, and then find the hand hand or leg variation or arm variation in the pose. Okay, hands forward, second wrist stretch. This time the hands are gonna, fingertips are gonna point down and then again back towards the knees, but the palms face up. Here my elbows bend a lot. And then also playing with sitting the hips back. And we're rocking forward, but try to keep the fingers spread wide and the thumb and the pinky rooted down. They wanna lift. You might even round in our chair like cat-cow spine. And then when you're ready, the hands flip forward. And then this time the palms face each other and the palms face up and the fingertips point towards each other. Same idea, fingers spread wide, thumb and pinky down, but if you want more, shift right to left. Good. And then when you're ready, turning the hands forward, walk the hands so that you have more space between hands and knees and lower down to your belly again. We'll get another shoulder stretch in. So extend the right hand out to the right and bend the left elbow. You have two options here. Either curl up like cobra and really emphasize rolling the shoulders back and then over onto your right hip. However, if that doesn't feel great, lower the right shoulder down and then you can play with placing the left foot to the floor and pointing the left knee up. So both are good. One obviously might feel better in your body than the other, or maybe spend a couple of breaths in both variations. But then you're looking at your left hand, pull your face away for the length on the back of the neck. And then when you're ready, you're in breath center. And then second side, left hand out, either up like cobra and then over onto the left hip, or roll the left shoulder down. And you can play with bringing the right foot to the floor and pointing the right knee straight up. And likely what feels better on one side might not totally match what the first side prefers. So really just kind of listening and taking almost like a beginner's mind side to side so that you can honor any discrepancies right to left. And then your in-breath brings you center. Okay, we're gonna swim a little bit to build a little bit more heat. So the hands reach forward and chin slightly towards chest. You're gonna lift the hands and the feet up off the floor and start your paddling. And just smooth and even inhales and exhales. Your paddling might be slow or quick. The shape of your foot, you're pressing into the ball of the foot and flare the toes so that you're engaging both sides of the leg. And then we're going to switch strokes to breaststroke. So we're going to inhale, lift the hands and the feet wide, lifting up, and then exhale, folding forward or gliding, and inhale, lift, and exhale. Hands come together, feet come together, and just moving, inhale, lifting, and exhale, folding inward. And then back to freestyle paddle. Hands underneath you. Bend the knees back to child's pose. Again, your variation, either knees wide, hands forward, or knees together and the palms face up, back by the hips. Reconnect to your breath here. Okay, hands and knees, downward facing dog. Look ahead of the hands, bend the knees, and inhale, hop or walk your feet forward. Lengthen the spine, inhale. Keep rolling the shoulders up so you feel the shoulder blades draw together on the back. And then exhale, fold inward. Reconnect to your breath here, another inversion. Keep drawing the pelvic floor up. Ribs pull in with each exhale, and the chin slightly towards the chest. So all three bandhas engaged. And then inhale, lengthen again. And just pause here long enough so that you find some balance, not rising too quickly and getting dizzy. But when you're ready, hands to hips, elbows together behind the back, soften the knees, rise with a flat back. Bring your hands palm to palm in front of the heart and just reconnect to your breath here. Receiving it as a gift. Okay, the next sequence of poses, I'm going to turn my sticky mat and I'm going to use my blanket. And I'll use a couple of blocks. So I'm placing my blanket near my sticky mat, and my blocks are also going flat down onto the mat, at least shoulder width distance apart, if not a little bit wider, depending on if you're a little bit tighter in your shoulders. So this is going to be our sun salutation, so it really emphasizing some core strength and heat building. Exhale the hands, Tadasana. Inhale the hands up and overhead, Urdhva. Exhale, cactus the elbows. Opening the heart, pull the ribs in and the throat back. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale, dive over the legs, either with the hands through the midline or like you're a swan diver, into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Really feel the weight draw forward to the balls of the feet. And exhale to standing forward fold. I'm using my blocks, but you certainly don't need to. Inhale, lift up onto the balls of both feet and tap the right toes towards the back of the right wrist. And then the right foot comes down. Tap the left toes to the back of the left wrist. And the left foot comes down. Lift up onto the balls of the feet, bend the knees towards the armpits, and then slide the feet out as slow and in control as you can. Plank pose. Rock forward onto the tiptoes, bend the elbows, shoulders do not dip past elbows, curl up cobra or up dog. Keep rolling the shoulders back. I guess this would be up dog because my thighs are nowhere near touching the floor. And then as you're ready, rolling over the feet and bring the hips high, down dog. I'm going to slide my mat forward even a little bit more. Feet slide in just a little bit as the hips come high. If this feels too easy, then widen the feet further away from the hands. And if it feels too hard, narrow your down dog. Now, lift up onto the balls of both feet. Gaze is way ahead of the hands. Pull the belly up and in as you slide the feet towards the back of the hands. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold. Place the hands. Inhale, lift up onto the balls of both feet. Right toes tap the back of the right wrist. Right foot down. Left toes, left wrist. Left foot down. Inhale, lift up onto the balls of both feet. Bend the knees forward. Slide the feet out. Slow and in control plank pose. Keep squeezing the heels of the hands back towards the toes, pressing the floor away with the hands. Rock forward onto the tiptoes, shoulders go past wrists. Bend the elbows, chaturanga. Inhale, curl up dog. Purposefully rolling the shoulders back, lifting the sternum up. And then as you're ready, either one foot at a time, tuck the toes under, and then the other foot, slide the feet in a little bit, bring the hips high, down dog. Look ahead of the hands, lift up onto the balls of the feet, pull the navel up and in, slide the feet towards the back of the hands. Inhale, lengthen the spine, roll the shoulders up. Big exhale, mouth open or closed to fold. One more of these. Place the hands either on your sticky mat or on blocks. Inhale, lift up onto the balls of both feet. Right toes tap right wrist, right foot down. Left toes, left wrist, left foot down. Lift up onto the balls of both feet, bend the knees. Slide the feet out, plank pose. Really maintain the length of the back of the neck and pull the throat up. Don't let the forehead give way to gravity. And then rocking the shoulders past wrists and elbows. Bend the elbows. Shoulders never come lower than the elbows. And then curl up, cobra or up dog. Purposefully rolling the shoulders back. And then tucking the toes under, slide the feet in just a little bit, bring the hips high, down dog. Look ahead of the hands, lift up onto the balls of the feet, pull the belly up and in, slide the feet in towards the back of the hands. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Pause here long enough to not get dizzy when you rise to stand. Soften the knees, hands to hips, elbows together. Behind the back, rise to standing pose. And then again, just reconnecting to your breath here. Eyes open or eyes closed. Another wrist stretch, hands out in front of you, right hand over left, thumbs turned down, hands clasp, fingers towards your sternum as the elbows drop, the hands come up towards the chin. And then reaching the hands forward. And then when you're ready, just very slow motion to unwind the hands without any slingshotting. And then left over right, thumbs down, clasp. Fingers towards your heart as the elbows drop. The hands come up towards the chin and then forward. Good, unwind the hands. Now that we have some blood in our shoulders, we'll add an additional shoulder stretch and we'll come into eagle pose or Garudasana. So I'm going to use my block and just a couple different ways that you can use your block. We'll stand on the right foot first. I'll show different options. One is to take the left foot over the right and find the left foot onto the block. You might not need a block at all and the foot can just hang off in space. Or you're welcome to wrap, but try to keep the hip points straight ahead. Second option is to stand on the right foot on the block or book or whatever you might be using. And then wrap the left foot. The drishti, where you're holding your gaze, is truly key in this posture. So find a spot that you're going to keep your eyes disciplined to stare at. And then really hugging the outer hips and wrapping them in towards the midline, activating the inner thighs. Bring your wings wide, because this is eagle pose. And then the left arm goes under the right. And you could either grab opposite shoulders. You could go no bind, bring the palms or the forearms together, or you could wrap once or twice. But then lifting your beak, your elbows up, and pull your hands away from your face. Likely there's now an obstacle in your drishti. So find something not moving to stare at. And then hug the forearms and the upper inner thighs. You can either stay upright or you can start to perch. Pull the ribs in as you lower the elbows towards the knees. And it's more of a rounded spine here. Really pull the navel up and in. And then as you're ready, we're gonna unwind to warrior three legs. Keep the arms though, so keep the arms, your beak, but unwind the left leg and bring the left leg straight back. And though you can't really see it, your left toes point straight down to keep the hips level and square. Pull the right hip back and activate the left glute by lifting up through the inner thigh. Then move your beak, your elbows forward. And then release the arms, bring the hands to the floor, standing splits pose. Press down into the finger pads, left toes point left, and as you press down into the hands, lift the left foot up really high. Drishti can either look straight down between the hands, or more challenging, look up towards the navel. Hands can stay to the floor, or you can bring one or both hands behind the standing calf muscle. When you're ready, we'll come down to seated spinal twist. Bring the hands down to the floor, bend the left knee behind the right, and then come down to your seat. I'm gonna get my block out of my way. Now we'll meet with the right leg crossed over the left. And I'm kind of hugging my right foot in and getting an additional hip stretch in my right hip. And keep the chest lifted and the shoulders roll back. Bring the right hand back. And the right hand can either hug the knee or you can hook. But press down to the back hand to sit tall. Just start to find your twist. And with each inhale, press down to the back hand to sit tall. And with each exhale, you're twisting. And then stay in the twist. Throat slides back for length. And then look over the left shoulder as you pull the right shoulder back. And then when you're ready, turn the gaze back to the right where the chin is in line with the sternum. And then this brings us to another arm balance called side crow, Parsva Bakasana. So there's a couple ways to modify this pose. One is I usually start by coming on up to my left knee, and then my hands walk over to the right. If you have blocks, you can use blocks underneath your hands. And then I like to do it by bringing one elbow, right elbow to my right hip, left elbow to my right knee, and I bend the elbows enough that I can balance my hip and my knee there, and then my feet can lift and my legs extend. However, if you're ready for a deeper twist and more challenge in the arm balance, then this left elbow comes mid-thigh, and the right elbow is not supporting the hip, but it's just kind of hanging out in space. Not sure I can demonstrate this one. But then you would have the same shape with the elbows bending straight back. So play with your Parsva Bakasana. Legs can either extend or stack. Whenever you're ready, releasing. We'll just counter our twist. Left hand comes back, right elbow inside of right knee. As you twist to the left. Again, press down into the left hand. Throw it back. Stay in the twist though, and really emphasize sliding the jaw back, and then look over the right shoulder. And then as you're ready, slowly unwind, come forward. And then allow yourself a transition that will work for you. Either hands and knees and cat-cow to wag your hips, or a heart opener. Skip it and rest in child's pose. Downward facing dog when you're ready. Inhale, lift the head and look as far ahead of the hands as you can. Keep the arms straight and the gaze forward. Exhale, bend the knees. And inhale, hop or walk your feet forward. Lengthen the spine. And big exhale to fold. Rise to stand, your method. And then again, just that pause to reconnect to your breath. Observe the prana, the breath, and the life force within. Okay, and then we have our sequence on our second side. So I'm getting my block ready. Left foot will be our standing, and the right foot crosses over the left. And again, you can help to bring the floor to you by placing the right foot on the block. Or maybe you don't use it at all. You want that foot to just kind of hang out in space or clip. The trick is to keep pulling that right hip back as it wants to come forward with more binds. But I'm going to match what I did on the first side, so I'm standing on my block. If this bothers your knee at all, then a modification would be just more of a figure four shape with the legs instead of that deep knee bend. Keep your drishti, stare at that spot, not moving. And then once you've got the foundation of your legs, squeeze the legs towards each other. The wings go wide, and now the right arm either under the left, and the hands grab opposite shoulders. No bind, forearms together, or one or two wraps. Now reconnect to your drishti, as likely the hands are an obstacle in maintaining your focus. Lift the elbows or the beak up. And then the hands pull away from the face. Now hug the forearms and the upper inner thighs. And then you can either stay more upright in your eagle pose or really pull the ribs in as you lower the elbows towards the knees. More of a rounded upper body and perch. And then as you're ready, we're gonna come into warrior three legs. So keep the arms, but we'll stand on the left leg and bring the right legs back with the right toes pointing straight down. Pull the left hip back, scoop the left glute under, and lift up through the right inner thigh. Even think about turning the right toes slightly in, because the right toes want to turn out to the right, and you don't want that because that would open up the hip. You want the hips level and square here. Keep moving your elbows and your hands forward. And then unwind the hands. Bring the hands down to the floor by bending the left knee as much as you need. Start to open up into standing splits. Let the right toes now point to the right. And press down into the hands, either walking the hands back or one or both hand behind the standing calf muscle. And it's like you're pulling on socks. You're pulling up the calf muscle. drishti now, or gaze, is either straight down, or you can even challenge by looking up towards the belly button. And when you feel ready to release, then bend the left knee and bend the right knee behind the left knee. Seated spinal twist. I'm just going to kick my block out of the way and come down to my seat. And now my left leg is over top of my right. Ideally here both hips are rooted heavy. If the left hip is lifted at all and there's space between the floor and the hip, then extend the bottom right leg. And that should anchor the left hip down. We'll take the closed twist first, so the left hand comes back, and the right elbow can either hug the left knee, or you can hook it, but press down into the left hand to find your tallest seat self with the crown reaching up. And then reaching across the room with the right hand will help to rotate the twist from really the base of the spine up, and the chin would be the last thing to turn. You want to press down into the left hand and the left foot to sit tall. And then stay in the spinal twist. Really pull the ribs in with the exhale. Throat slides back for length. And then you can look over the right shoulder as well. And then we played with Parsvabhakasana. So, coming onto the right knee, and either you're bringing an elbow to the knee and an elbow to the hip to help lift the feet up off the floor. One other option that I will demonstrate, I'm going to use my block, is you can step on your block with your feet on your block, knees bend really deep, and then I turn to the left or twist to the left. But then I have to bend the elbows a lot. Gaze as far forward, and then you can either extend the legs or bring the right leg to stack over the left. Knees can certainly stay bent. Play with your variation. But then when you're ready, we'll meet again with the left knee over right, and we'll open our twist to the right. So left elbow inside the left knee, twist to the right. And then your in-breath brings you center. Okay, we're going to go upside down now, and we'll try a headstand pose. But we'll just kind of prep for it like we're standing on the ceiling to start. So I'll get on my feet, clasp the hands together in front of you, and bring the hands behind the head. And then point the elbows straight forward. Pull the head back into the hands. So you're really exaggerating the throat lock and toning the back of the throat. And then take one hand and feel that the top of the forearm is in line with the top of the head. Because while this is called headstand, the weight is truly absorbed from the elbow to the wrist. And if it's absorbed in the top of the head, the neck will unfortunately take too much weight. And that's why people with neck injuries might want to avoid this posture, though it can certainly, that's not where the weight should be absorbed anyway. As you lift the elbows up, keep pulling the shoulders back so that there's, like it kind of creates like a hollowed out armpit. And then firm the glutes and the legs, lift up onto the balls of the feet. And absorb, or be aware of how much you have to hug the legs towards each other, because the weight just wants to roll the pinky edge of the foot. All right, and then now that you've done headstand, standing on the ceiling, you can play with doing it on your sticky mat. A lot of people also like a blanket underneath their forearms, so you're welcome to play with that. But then as you're ready, same approach, bending the elbows, come down to your forearms and clasp the hands. Then cradle the crown of the head into the hands and point the elbows straight towards the knees as you pull the head into the hands. Find your drishti, that spot on the floor that you're going to stare at. Tuck the toes under and lift the hips up. So already this is down dog, or this is down dog legs, but the heart is above the head. So already this is an inversion. And then if you want to play with coming up, start to walk the feet in towards the elbows, and you can bend the knees. And then I recommend one foot lifting up, 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 up towards the ceiling, and then maybe the other. Press down so much into the forearms that the head is slightly off the floor. And then once you come up, maybe you get creative with the legs. Or if you want more core work, kind of stick the booty back and play with lowering the feet down and then lifting the feet up. When you're ready to come down, straight into child's pose. Do not come up too quickly or it puts too much pressure behind the eyes. And then a little bit different variation for child's pose to help open up the chest that just was working so hard. Blocks are on the floor. The elbows come to the blocks. Palms come together. Slight pressure, elbows down to lift the shoulders up. As you bend the elbows, bring the hands behind the head, eventually maybe behind the heart. And keep a little bit of intensity, the elbows pressing down and the shoulders slightly lifting. Roll the outer armpits down. Sternum is reaching down. Maybe the forehead rests, maybe not. I like length on the back of my neck so my head is not down. And then when you're ready to unwind, do so slowly. Back to downward facing dog. Look ahead of the hands, bend the knees, and inhale, hop or walk the feet forward. Lengthen the spine, inhale, shoulders keep rolling up. And exhale to fold, Uttanasana. Another inversion. Any variation, grab opposite elbows in front of or behind the knees. Maybe you bear some of the weight in the hands. Maybe the knees bend deeply or the legs are a little bit straighter. And then when you're ready, unwind. I like to come up through flat back so I can pause here. Rise to stand as you're ready. And again, just that pause. Okay, another wrist stretch. Bring the hands straight out like a T or cross and wrap the thumbs in, and then the fingers wrap around the thumbs. Keep the palms facing forward and turn just the knuckles down. You might get a lot of sensation on one wrist and not any at all on the other, or maybe this one you don't feel a lot. And then when you're ready, slowly bring the hands back up. But then this time you're going to turn the whole palm to face down and then curl the knuckles in towards the forearm where the knuckles are pointing straight down. Good, and then we'll play with coming into handstand. So again, we'll practice it like we're standing on the ceiling, and then we'll work on going upside down. Luckily I have a wall here, but if you're practicing these inversions in your living room, just be really aware of your surroundings so that you don't come down and kick a couch or a table or something that would lead to an injury. Okay, so this does require a lot of wrist flexibility, but we've done a lot of wrist stretches, and so we'll give it a try. Bring the hands up, and then the palms are facing flat like they're standing on the ceiling. Keep the fingers spread wide with that equal spacing. The throat slides back. Legs are really engaged here and strong. And then shifting, once the throat is back, shifting the gaze up towards the ceiling between the hands. Keep rolling the outer armpits forward and pressing the hands up towards the ceiling. And then pull the ribs in, keep the glutes engaged, lift up onto the balls of the feet and hug the inner thighs. And then as you're ready, releasing down. So we'll approach this pose in L pose first. I'm going to come down to my seat with my back towards the wall. And I'm as close towards the wall as I can. We'll come into Dandasana first, so the legs are straight out in front of you. The shoulders are rolling back towards the wall. The chin is slightly towards the chest, but the back of the head is pressing into the wall. Okay, I'm continuing to walk my hips closer to the wall. Pull the ribs in. And then standing on the ceiling, bring the hands up with the fingertips pointing back towards the wall. So this is L pose. And then we can practice it. Instead of standing on the ceiling, we'll practice standing our hands on the floor. And in this posture, it doesn't matter if your letter is L or if it's more of a V. So maybe wrist, elbow, wrist, elbow, shoulder, and hips are stacking. Or maybe you have to bring your hands further away from the wall and it looks more like an inverted down dog. So in this variation though, we'll start working towards L pose, and where the heels are the feet, I'm going to take the heel in my hand. It's kind of just my starting point. Oftentimes that feels too close for people, but that's truly the alignment that you need if you're going for the letter L. And if you want V, then it's okay to bring the hands further out. So keeping that wide spread palm, but pulling the thumb in a little bit. Outer armpits roll back. Press down into the hands, chin slightly towards chest. Tuck the toes under. And then as you're ready, play with starting to walk the feet up the wall. Inner edges of the feet are parallel. Outer armpits wrap back towards the wall. And I like length on the back of my neck, but you can play with bringing the gaze forward, which also tends to shift the shoulders forward. If you are in L or V, you can also do one-legged, where the left foot stays on the wall. Gaze does have to come down between the hands, and then lifting one leg and then the other. This would be like warrior three legs. Keep rolling the hip back. When you're ready to come down, straight into child's pose. Do not rise too quickly. It'll result in probably too much pressure behind your eyes and just making you feel a little bit lightheaded when you rise on it. And then we'll meet in hands and knees, and I like to just kind of add some pleasurable movement by wagging my hips or maybe rounding and arching. I want to try one more variation of handstand pose. And so I'm going to use the wall. I'll turn around so that my fingertips are pointing towards the wall. And in this variation, I'm really working on trying to pull my throat back and then bringing my gaze as far up the wall as I can. So I'm going to turn around. And my fingertips are pretty close to the wall because I'm going to start on hands and knees with the crown of my head toward pressing into the wall. And I'm walking my hands back a little bit because I want my shoulders slightly ahead of my wrists. And then tuck my toes under, come into down dog. And then walk your feet in a little bit. Bring the gaze as far up the wall as you can and play with the crown towards the wall. However, to kick up, I like to bring my head away from the wall just to start. Walk one foot in and then the other. And this might be your inversion. Or start to play with kicking up. If the feet come to the wall, then bring the crown towards the wall as well. And then maybe some success getting the feet off the wall. And again, leg variations, you can get creative with it. And then when you're ready, straight down into child's pose and rest. Okay, I'm going to turn my mat again. And now work on more cooling inversions. And so coming in, working towards shoulder stand. However, I want to prepare for it with bridge pose. And so I'm just going to fold my mat in once. And I'm going to use my blanket again. Placing my blanket really close to my mat. Sit on your mat with your feet on your blanket. And then as you're ready, you'll come all the way down onto your back. And setting up for bridge pose, fingers should just barely be able to touch the heels. I'm going to use my block between my upper inner thighs just to give myself something to hug the midline with. And then lifting the hips up off the floor. But then I can go deeper with the heart opener and the shoulder opener by lifting one shoulder up to the ear and rolling it under, and then the other shoulder and rolling it under, and then clasping the hands. Chin is slightly towards chest. Press down into the feet. I like to lift and spread my toes and squeeze my upper inner thighs towards each other or into that block. And then some hamstring strengthening. I'm going to slide my feet out away from my hands. And then inhale, pull the heels in towards the hands. And move with your breath. You might do 2, you might do 10. It doesn't matter how far the feet slide away from the hands. You might just slide an inch or 2 and then pull it in. And then when you're ready, release the hands, walk the shoulders out a little bit, and then lowering the hips down. I'm going to remove my block, bring the soles of the feet together and open up the knees out wide. Left hand to the heart, right hand onto the belly. This feels like too intense. You can always put blocks underneath your knees. Or you can add intensity and just let the hands rest on top of the inner thighs. Just the weight of the arms might be enough. All right, and then shoulder stand. So the knees are lifting. And you have choices here on how you approach it, but my preference is to lift the hips up like I'm coming into bridge. I walk my shoulders underneath and then lift up onto the balls of the feet to get my hands to my sacrum. And then I like to lift one foot at a time, and maybe you just alternate, or maybe you bring both legs up. But then I like to sit my hips into my hands so that I absorb weight in my shoulders and my elbows, because this is called shoulder stand, not neck stand. And if I come too upright, I tend to put too much weight on my neck and my head. So I keep sitting my hips into my hands. It's almost like a variation between shoulder stand and plow. Keep pressing into the balls of the feet and flaring the toes. And again, leg variations, splits legs, one forward and one back, or wide. I've even seen eagle legs here. You want to play with that. And then as you're ready, I bring my hands to the floor and use them almost like brakes to lower back down to the floor, one vertebrae at a time. And then feet wide, knees come in together. Just again, rest. Either hands, one hand to heart, one hand to belly, or you can go wide. And then we'll counter our restricted throat with now opening up the throat. So again, I'm just using my block. And now the block is right at the base of my shoulder blades. Fish pose. The sternum stays lifted and the top of the head finds the floor. If that is too much for you, take a second block and support the head so that it's not such a huge opening in the throat. Or maybe it's a pillow or a blanket. And you can rest like I am in the pose. Or you could add a dorsal fin, keep pulling the shoulders down, and maybe your fish swims a little bit, bending the elbows and straightening the arms overhead. Or you can keep moving with the arms, but you can also add a tail and lift the feet. It might be one at a time, or both at the same time. I even like to use my hands and pull the skin away from my clavicle and increase the stretch on the front of my throat. And then to back out of this, I recommend hands behind the head to help bring the chin towards the chest. And then the forearms back to the floor. Removing your block, almost to Shavasana. Come all the way down onto your back. Pull the knees into the chest. Eyes open or eyes closed. Roll small circles around the lower back. The arms come out like a T or cross, feet to the floor, and as wide as the width edge of the mat. And then roll both knees to the right. Keep walking the shoulder blades down the back. You can also take the right heel above the left knee, tone the pelvic floor. And then second side, feet come center and the knees flip right. And then any additional or finishing postures that you might have. And then we rest. And if you would like still another inversion, legs up the wall always feels like a reward for me. I like my blanket underneath me. And you get one hip and shoulder really close to the wall so that then you can lower down to your back. And either the legs go straight up the wall, or you could also add a big inner thigh stretch and open up the legs. But rest in your child's or your Shavasana, your resting pose, as long as you need. Feel free to pause the video. But when you're ready to release, roll over onto one side and stay here in your fetal pose as long as you need. Left hand to the floor, pressing down into the left hand to rise to your seat. And we'll meet with the hands palm to palm in front of the heart. Eyes closed, and behind the closed lids, look right at the third eye center. And as you breathe in, receive the gifts of your practice. And as you breathe out, maybe your prayer, your offering. And then finally we'll close with the chant of just one Om. Please inhale. And exhale. Inhale, prepare. Thank you for allowing me to guide you through your practice. Namaste.